Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man! What a day! What a week! It's been quite an interesting time around here in Seattle. People getting frustrated with the hometown boys, our Seattle Seahawks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing my 12 for 12s, but there's so much to break down that I'm going to do this in two parts. So I'm going to do some of it tonight, and then I'm going to come back tomorrow and do the rest of it because the all 22 just came out late last night, and so by the time I got everything trimmed and edited, it was hard to get the extra stuff that I want to get in. So you'll see on the first play the type of stuff I'll be telestrating. But to my MVPs, my most valuable people out there, there's not a whole lot to say in terms of being frustrated or depressed or anything like that. There's still going to be hope, and I'm going to show you where the hope comes from. But there's also a lot of things that need to be fixed, and that's the area I'm going to jump into first. So when it comes to the type of players that we need to have and the thing that I think we need to fix, I used to talk all the time about this thing called CPR, which is the comprehension that your team has, the personnel that your team has, and the respect that they have for each other or for the coaches. Comprehension, personnel, respect. The three letters that start with those three words are CPR. So when you have problems with one of those three, typically you're going to need some resuscitating. And right now I'm concerned that we have problems with all three of them. The good thing is I love that we have Pete Carroll. I know people are ready to jump off the ship with him, but I think he's the guy that can right this ship. And, we're in a division and a league that it's just tough, the whole, parity thing and everything else. I mean, look at Kansas City and look at some of those other teams that are struggling. I'm not overly worried. It's great that we have that extra game. I think that 17th game is going to come in real handy for us. So before we kick it off, let's kick it with a little opening bid. All right, so there's this thing called the butterfly effect, which I think most of you have heard of. And what the butterfly effect is, when something happens anywhere around the world, they say if a butterfly flaps its wings, it causes, it can cause tornadoes or hurricanes or what have you. Well, I always utilize that in football as well. I think that in football, in the course of time, and there's a reason I don't introduce myself. My description's in the website, or my website is in the description. So if you want to go to coachforlife100.com, you can see my background and you can see, if you think that I'm someone who's, has the credibility to do the stuff that I'm doing. But this is for fun. It's for entertainment purposes. At the same time, if you disagree with me, it's not going to bother me. I want you to have these conversations with me. And in future shows, I'm going to invite guests to come on, guests being you, the 12s that are out there, or other fans that are watching, to be a part of this, because I really want to become the coach for the 12s, the guy that's helping you guys out. There's a lot of great people telestrating out there, but I think you'll come to find that as I get more comfortable in my surroundings here, it's very easy to stand in front of a group of players and coach, but trying to get cameras going and audio going and telestrating going, all those things is pretty new. But I think pretty quickly we're going to get things rocking and rolling here. So like I said, the butterfly effect, I always said that there's 5 times in a game in the first 3 quarters that the butterfly effect is going to take place. 5 different plays are going to dictate what the game is going to be like. My 12 for 12s piece here is obviously we're the 12s, but I'm basically selecting 12 plays. Some of those plays can be, condensed. There might be 2 or 3 of the same type of play in terms of sideline view, end zone view, TV view, or what have you. But basically picking 12 plays with the idea that 5 of those 12 plays definitely have the butterfly effect. You get to decide which ones you think had it. Which ones you think had it. And over the course of the week, I'm obviously connecting to people, calling people, talking to people out there that are doing, things from radio to TV to other things to get their insight. And then just using my background. I'm using my background as a longtime coach and someone who's a sponge of the game. Like I used to tell people all the time, get it, got it, sponge it. That's what I try to do. I try to sponge it up. And I like to do things differently. So you'll see on my actual chalkboard here, I'm a guy that likes to kind of a betting man by nature in terms of gambling man, like to make things happen on the field. So we'll see how things work moving forward, because I think the Seahawks are going to have to start maybe taking some chances, but let's not, throw in the towel yet. So here we go. Let's go to the first play. Now, I'm going to try this with myself up in the upper corner here. If I see that I'm getting in the way, I will keep checking the comments, and I will just remove myself from the screen. So obviously I appreciate it. And before I even get going, man, look at this. I love when Eric comes on. Thank God Coach Marsh is not dead. No, Eric, I'm not dead, man. I am maybe a dead man walking, but I am definitely here doing my thing. So appreciate that Eric's here. Love it. Love that Brandon Rogers comes out here, man. Always been following me. And then, of course, there's our guy, Mr. 4.7, Dr. Doogie Howser himself, Nick LeBeau, who comes out. And I know people out there know him. And he's going to get up to 1,000 subs, I think, by Christmas. That's my goal for you, Nick LeBeau. I'm going to help you get to that 1,000 subs. The key is I got to make sure I get there with you. All right. Okay, so let's rock and roll with this thing, man. I'm excited to do this. I think you'll see, again, this first play is the only play that's truly telestrated the way I'm going to be telestrating them. Other plays I'll be using my JV level of telestrator, I guess. That's why I'm only going to do a handful of plays tonight, and then tomorrow I'm going to come back because I'll have the rest kind of pre-telestrated, which makes it more fun to talk. So this one right here, I called this play open range on defense because what you're going to see as he goes back, as Cousins goes back for the pass, he sits there and he sees what's coming up, and now it's just an easy rainbow arcing throw out there, to the wide receiver. And as you watch me, you'll see that I usually don't talk about player by name. I try to talk by position. That way, if you're wanting to be educated on this. But now check out the range. And I'm not talking his throwing range. I'm talking the range that's out there for him to be able to throw into. So again, when he's back here making this arc throw, you can see already that he's, Adams, he has his back turned. And let me say something about Adams, okay? Anytime I talk about any of these players, if I critique them, Adams, Russell Wilson, any of these dudes, look, I get it. They're NFL players. They are NFL players. But one thing I learned a long time ago, and again, I'm not coaching them. I'm just giving my personal opinion, if I was to coach them, what I would say or what I'd be looking for. I learned a long time ago that you owe it to your players to nitpick the little things. If you don't nitpick the little things, then the big things are going to show up, obviously, but the little things are what end up costing you over the course of a game. Problem is, we are getting some big things that are happening. So when it comes to Adams, though, when I talk about him, man, just know he does a lot of phenomenal stuff. But what we've decided to do this year for the Seahawks, what they've said is that they're letting Jamal Adams be pretty free on a lot of plays. So while certain plays he's definitely covering certain guys, there's some other times where he gets to freelance a little bit, which can work as long as the other 10 dudes know what you're doing. So there's going to be some times here where I'll talk about things he's doing or maybe Russell's doing that, again, it's not me saying that I don't like him as a player. It's just saying, does it hurt or help us? And is it helping or hurting what we're trying to do as a defense? Again, Cousins had a heck of a game. Sometimes you have to give credit to the other side. He makes a great pass here, but it's pretty easy, again, when you've got the type of, not his throwing range, but out in the range, as we call it, where you've got this huge area out there where, again, there's a reason why I made this the first play of all the plays I could have shown. When I saw this on the end zone view, you could tell even in the game that there was definitely a lot of space there. I honestly don't think there's a time that I've been doing this telestrating in the past year. I started about a year ago. Obviously, I've been breaking down film for nearly 30 years, but this is the first time I've seen an NFL film where, the type of square yardage out there, again, you could have a ranch on that thing. I mean, who couldn't complete a pass there? And with all the protection he had, so pretty tough on that one. All right, let's bounce to the next play. Okay, this one right here, unfortunately, they didn't start the play early enough in terms of the all-22, so I'm not going to complain, though, because it doesn't cost much to be able to get the all-22 film, which I think is awesome that the NFL allows us to have that. But what you're going to see here is that Brooks, he was supposed to cover somebody right here as linebacker, and before he gets there, he was actually lined up over here, and Bobby Wagner turns around, and he starts waving for him to come over to this side. In other words, come over on this side of me. So he's already waved to him to go over to that side. Well, he doesn't really know exactly who he's covering on the play. So as you can see, pass out to the flat, most people see and go, man, where's our secondary and who's got him and those type of things, because it's a wide receiver who's catching the ball. But if you take it back to the very beginning, again, when they get out into their space before they throw the ball, here you have a guy who's sitting right in here who's supposed to be, covering the guy who's out to the outside. So it's just it's one of those things that just doesn't work very well when you have that type of thing happening. And here's 17. He's just going to do a simple out route. So these guys are going to run it off. 17's running an out route. But Brooks, who was already on this side, he was supposed to be covering the trips personnel to the right side. Let me clear that out real quick. The trips personnel to the right side. He's over here in the middle when he should be over here on this spot. So it's just not a good position to be in. And now you can see 17 right here. I mean, again, look at all the space that we've got covering. He's got all this area to the sideline, and Brooks should be out there covering him. Well, Kirk Cousins is he's going to look like the NFC, MVP player of the week, when he's doing that type of stuff, because you can't have that type of coverage. So pretty tough when the completion's out there. And then here's the problem that I have. As a guy who coached a lot of players over time, it's the old, if you're going to make a mistake, do it full speed, right? And what I think we're seeing, and I'm talking about it a lot with other guys that are coaches, they coach at high school, college level, even one, mentor of mine who's an NFL coach. Nothing frustrates coaches more than when you don't hustle. Like if you're going to make a mistake, sometimes you can overcompensate for that and you end up making a great play. But it's like in basketball. The biggest pet peeve of mine in basketball is the point guard who throws a bad pass. It gets taken, the other team gets a turnover, and then the guard's jogging down the court trying to get the guy with the basketball. Like if you turn it over, you better be the first guy back there, right? Well, if you're not in the right position and then your guy catches the ball, you better fly over there and make the play. Well, you tell me if he's flying over to make the play. Does that look like a guy who's hustling to get there? No, man, he's already made the mistake. And we're already in that part of the game where, and we saw it on TV, so I'm not going to show a lot of the Captain Obvious stuff. Everybody saw that we had players yelling at each other and that type of stuff, so I'm not going to show those type of things. But you can already tell, man, the sideline demeanor, the way the players are acting. We've had this happen a couple weeks in a row now when things aren't going well. We already had guys line up in the wrong spot, but when you start getting veterans that are doing that, it just doesn't help it. So let me just watch it all the way through from the beginning, all the way. So there he is. Then he kind of jogs it. Oh, guy doesn't go out of bounds. Now he gets there, helps out. The guy gets extra few yards. Man, I want to see the guy who's flying across to get there. All right, next play. And again, I've got the comments up too. So if anybody sees, comments coming up, or if I see comments coming up, I'll definitely look to answer those things. So, all right, next one. Now this was the play that went to DK. So I'm going to go back and forth. I don't pick out these plays based on when I'm running them. I don't go just offense or just defense or just Minnesota, just Seattle. I'm just showing you plays, so it's more from an educational standpoint. I'm going to try not to be, bring in a lot of the emotional opinion, but you will see me get energized and charged up, and there'll be times in the next couple of weeks where I'll be standing when I'm doing this because it's hard to do this sitting down. The coach in me has to come out a little bit. So here's the play to DK. So let's just watch it one time through, and I'll try to remember always to show you the play first all the way through. So nice drop back, settles, great throw by Russ, who's doing, if you look at his stats, Russ is definitely up there with his numbers. He's up there with his numbers. I will talk tomorrow about stats and numbers and inflation and, which stats I think are the important ones to look at, i.e., I've heard 3 different people on their shows, and I'm talking like NFL Network type of shows, not YouTube shows, talk about possessions. Like, well, one team had this amount of possessions, and the other team had a pretty close amount of possessions. Well, let me help you with that one so that if you're ever doing your own stuff, possessions are always going to be pretty much within 1, maybe within 2, because team kicks off. And, let me bring it back to myself real quick, just because this is so important. I just try to break these kind of things that people say, right? They look at the stats, and the first thing they see is possessions, and they go, well, man, Minnesota had this amount of possessions, and the Seahawks had this amount of possessions, so it's pretty even. Well, yeah, because team kicks off, Seattle gets the ball, and then they punt, and then Minnesota gets the ball, and then Minnesota goes down and kicks a field goal, and they kick off, and then we get the ball, and we go down, we score a touchdown, and then they get – the only time those possessions change, you would think, is on a kickoff return that gets fumbled, and the team who kicked off, who just scored, who just had a possession, gets the ball back. However, unless that ball bounced right through and disappeared, the guy caught the ball, that is a possession. So rarely are you going to have a team that has, one team has 20 possessions and one team has 12 possessions. It's always going to be close. So I highly recommend. So just so you know, I will bring up possessions as a piece there. All right, back to the action. So let's look at the play one more time. Lots of different things that I could have. Again, I will have some of this stuff, and I might even come some of this telestrated fully tomorrow with my pre-telestrated stuff. Here's the thing I saw early on. And man, this goes back, Nick LeBeau. You've heard me talk many, many, many times about we don't talk about offensive linemen as a group. It is by far and away my biggest number one pet peeve as a coach in today's modern football is the person who's wanting to blame somebody who just says it's the O-line. It's not the O-line. Now, it might be a specific player on the O-line, like left guard, which I'll talk about, or a different position. But just like with wide receivers, you don't blame the wide receivers unless they're all dropping balls. You would say that the Z receiver or the specific player's name, right? Well, here's the thing. Our left guard is having a lot of troubles, and it always starts with the first step. You always, always, always look to see what are their first 6-inch power steps, as they call them at multiple levels. The 6-inch power step is whether it's run or pass. Your feet need to be chopping, and you're stepping the proper direction. Later in the game, you saw that our left tackle got upset, like really upset. And it's great that the camera was right there. I'll show you why later. But on this, what you start to see is they go back. The snap goes, and right away, you get this bunny hop. And the bunny hop is the worst thing that an offensive lineman can do. Okay, look at the synchronization of the center, the guard, the tackle, and the left tackle. You get pass protections called in the huddle. They go out there, and the moment of the snap, look at the right. I love it, man. If you learn to love offensive line, you'll learn to love football so much more. Instead of blaming them, learn what the offensive linemen do. The game becomes a whole lot better for you. Watch this center's right foot, guard's right foot, right tackle's right foot. Synchronized. Man, yeah, I almost got stepped on, the center and the guard, but still, that's what you want to see. You want to see that back and forth action. And even our tight end, our Y, our U, depending on what position he's in, like I love him. I love this guy. But again, all four of them, right step. Okay, now you come over here to the left side, you get left step, and then you get bunny hop. And what you can't have is bunny hopping. Because what bunny hopping does is you get in the air and this guy's engaged. So his feet have just come right there. At that moment, both feet are off the ground. You don't see anybody else on their second step with both feet off the ground. But here you do. So when he's got both his feet off the ground, the other guy gets engaged. And what you're trying to teach is offensive lineman, get your arms up quickly and extend your arms. Defensive lineman, get your arms extended as well because they're trying to see what's going on. You don't want to get in where you're chest-to-chest blocking. And they say the low man wins. Well, the only way you can get low is to get down in a squatted position, have your 6-inch power steps going, your feet are constantly churning. Well, you can tell hat to hat, which is what I refer to with helmets, hat to hat level, hat to hat, hard to tell from this angle because we're not at ground level, but I can tell that he's got a sinking butt. Okay, you can tell by the figure 4, as we call it, in his body. There's a figure 4 there, pretty close to, he's getting to his figure 4, getting to the figure 4, getting to the figure 4, maybe more of an S curve, hopping, arms are extended, his arms are straight down, and then he is just manhandled backwards. I mean, look at that step. You never want to see a lineman taking that big of a big step. Boom, boom. I mean, just crushed. Okay, so here we go. Let me just show you regular speed for a second. Crushed, 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 crushed. That was in the first quarter. As Minnesota was getting momentum and realizing that he's the pigeon, and when you hear me say pigeon, that is for the person that's the weakest link. I would always, if game started, I'd always be the first thing I wanted to hear from my guys upstairs was, where's the pigeon? Who's the pigeon tonight? And their guys are looking at their thing going, oh, number 78, the left, the defensive left tackle. He was on our scouting report as the starting tackle. He's gone. He's out. He's not playing tonight. The backup's in. Number 72 is a young guy. That's the pigeon. So you start running all of your plays towards the pigeon. Or you start, defensively going at the offensive pigeon. If you pick up something throughout the course of the week and you say, man, that's the pigeon we're going after. Now, we definitely have a big one on defense I'm going to show you in a second. But this is where what you see the problem that comes here, and I'll finish on this one, is watch Russell's footwork. And this happened as the game went on. Now, athletically, Russ can make plays happen. But when he's throwing the ball, I'll guarantee you, when he's working with his quarterback coach, who I got to watch many, many times, great Skyline quarterback, BYU quarterback, University of Miami quarterback, played in the NFL, and then he and I did some clinics, and he started his quarterback guruing career. He's one of the few that I would say is a great quarterback guru. That's Jake Heaps is who I'm talking about. Jake Heaps is his personal coach, and I'll guarantee he works on this all the time with Russ. But the problem is when you got guys coming in your face, you want your step to be going forward. Russ is just such a great thrower, and he gets a really nice window here because our guy got caved, and he makes it work. But as the game went on, I'm always looking at footwork of O-line and our quarterback. O-line, quarterback. What is the footwork? Because you can't see anything else down the field. As the game went on, Russell's footwork, every pass was sideways. Like his feet were literally lateral to the line of scrimmage, and he's arming it because he can sense the pressure coming in, and who blames him? You can't blame the guy for doing that. So, that's a little bit of the problem I have there is you're getting caved in. Okay, we still got a great throw. Now, DK, man, love it. I've been begging this guy to circle up, not actually talking to him, but you've heard me on many shows that I've been on, constantly saying, please, if DK could just start circling up, the circle of opportunity right here. Bring the claws, not soft. The soft hands are in here. Bring the claws, circle up. Don't catch the ball with your body, which you saw a guy do in the game, totally dropped it. Man, this is awesome. The circle, look at that. The circle up, the circle of opportunity. Boom, right there, man. Love the circle of opportunity. Give me some circle of opportunity. That's what he gets when he gets the circle of opportunity, man. So it's just nice to see that he's doing that and that his explosiveness, love the high knees. Reminds me of Roger Craig. Anybody remembers Roger Craig, the old 49er? Great stuff. All right, couple more here. Going to keep the show relatively brief. Tomorrow I will extend it because I will have I want my pre-telestrated stuff in there. It's just a lot more fun because I don't have to be maneuvering all the keyboards here. But let me check some of the comments first real quick. Let me just check the comments here. Let's see here. Did I see 56 flex after the play? Here we go. I'll repeat it. Nick LeBeau, did I see 56 flex after the play? That was from the Jordan Brooks play earlier. So it's pathetic that he would flex after he jogged over to his defender and let the free safety push the wide receiver out of bounds. Yeah, man, totally agree. Thing is, excuse me. You can see I got my Superman shirt underneath. Yeah, it'd be like, doing something at school and the teacher says, hey, here you go. You got a D+ on your science project. And you're like, yeah, D+. Doesn't work, man, right? Like when you're doing something. But I don't know if he was flexing or if he was just like frustrated. There's definitely times where guys get frustrated and they flex out like that. So I agree with that. Let's see here. The other good ones. Okay, keep it rolling. Now, this play right here, you've heard me again. If you watch, you hear some common threads, but these are the things at the NFL level you just cannot have. This is called check counterpoint. And I talked on the last show how for you 12s, if you want this to be, I really want to teach it from a high-level learning standpoint, not a football 101. To me, this is football 501 because the 12s, I think, are definitely high-level football IQ. So, I want this to be something that's fun, entertaining, but also something that's not just your basic, hey, stop the run, stop the pass, got to complete the pass, run fast, those type of basic things. So check counterpoint is something that every defensive player has who plays defensive end or is a stand-up linebacker on the line of scrimmage. So here you have our stand-up linebacker, or if you have a defensive end, and check counterpoint that every one of these players has two words or phrases that they know if they forget what the play is, they just know, hey, if the play goes this side of the ball where it's snapped from, I do this, and if it goes on that side, I do that. Meaning this guy knows that if a play comes his direction to the left side of the ball, he has force. Okay, if the play goes away from him, because he's not going to catch a guy who's running a quick lead, because there's a fullback. And glory be to the fullback. Man, I love that they brought their fullback into the game. I wish teams would run full. You're starting to see it more. San Francisco does it. Now Minnesota's doing it. Kansas City's doing it. Tampa Bay's doing it. Man, if we can resuscitate the fullback, man, oh man, oh man. Not sure about the froggy stance, but hey, it still works. And this guy got some seriously good lead blocks. Check counterpoint is just what it is. A counter play is a play that starts one direction and counters back the other way. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you from the top first. So what you're going to see here is, let me just run the play. Okay, on the cutback, people get upset, You can kind of see he missed it, but people, hey, where are our linebackers and where's our safeties? Where's the corner on this play? This play is busted up and broken. And I'll guarantee you, this is the first thing linebackers are talking about in their film room. Linebacker right here. This play starts off. It starts off in a counter-like look, meaning look at the linemen. All these linemen, they're going to the right. So to our defensive left. So our defense, I mean, this is how quick NFL players are. They can pick up so quickly the first step. Like they're looking at the first step of the guy in front of them. And linebackers are reading the guards. Outstanding linebackers at every level. You teach linebackers from kindergarten all the way through the NFL. Watch the guards. The guards will take you everywhere. Because if there's a pulling guard, you don't pull a guard unless you're going to have a guy follow him. Unless you're doing some deception, which teams have started to do over the last few years. So it's made it a little bit tougher. But sometimes if a linebacker's way out of place, it's because he started looking into the backfield and not paying attention. That's why they have these rules. Because if linebackers just followed where the running backs went, they'd be in a world of hurt. Well, case in point. You see, it looks like kind of a lead that's going this way because a dive is one back going through. A lead is just what it means. Somebody else is leading through. So the fullback looks like he's starting to move up, and the tailback is going. So it looks like it's going to be a lead. Lineman goes out. Everybody's going to the right. Now look what our linebackers are doing from the middle. Our two middle linebackers. They see this action because there's no guard coming back the other way. A true counter, you'd see a guard or a guard and a tackle pulling back to the left. So that makes this play very, very tough, which is why he must be disciplined with his rule. Comprehension, the C of the CPR. Comprehension. Otherwise, get different personnel. Or get different personnel if they're not respecting the plays or the coaches or their teammates. Okay, look at 52 right now. He should have his shoulder square to the line of scrimmage. I've said it many, many times. You never, ever, ever want to see a linebacker or a lineman's jersey numbers. You see both of his jersey numbers, that means they're in a poor football position. You want to run, you need to run sideways. Your shoulders should be square to the line of scrimmage, running at an angle until a guy gets to the side of you or passes you. So what happens? He turns, and then he does start to try to square. He realizes, man, I need to square. But now this is, you're in trouble right here. Because once you're turned sideways, you are in every clinic you ever go to, a coordinator, NFL coach from Nick Saban, Belichick, Pete Carroll, they're all going to tell you. You're turned sideways, you are in a poor athletic position for the game of football. In the front, within 4 yards of the line of scrimmage. So what happens, you want him to take this. So now that you kind of see what's happening here, let me play it one time before I go to the end of view. Just watch our outside linebacker. We want him to keep his outside arm free. He doesn't. So let me show you from the end zone view. And this is why the end zone view is the greatest thing ever invented for football. Film doesn't lie, and the end zone view, it's like the FBI. And it's counterintelligence because you cannot lie, man. So many players, it was so funny over the course of time. Players would come to me, oh, coach, this player did this to me, and oh, this player did that to me. And then I'd see the end zone film. Couldn't tell from the side film. I'd see the end zone film and go, oh, man, I can't wait to talk to little Tommy on Monday. Tommy's got a lying problem. So he's going to be lying on the bench on Friday because he can't get the plays right. So here's what we got. Now look at this. Think how hard this is for a linebacker in the NFL because this is happening so fast. The guards are going to the right, our defensive left, so you got to jump on that. But this backer, he must stay home, and he must not crouch and put his head down and keep his outside arm unfree. So that counter play that is designed to do that. This is designed to bounce back. And why do I know that? Because this fullback immediately jab stepped. He becomes the guard. The reason you have a fullback, the fullback is a glorified guard. That's the beauty of a fullback. It's like having 3 guards out on the field. So you can send your guards one direction, fool the defense, and use your fullback as the pulling guard, so to speak. So a lot of times, even for us, we wouldn't call it an FB. We wouldn't even call it a B or some of the letters they give them. We would call it G3. So we'd have the guard, left guard, right guard, or strong guard, quick guard, or we'd have back in the day we used to call it the OGs. So we had the O guard and the G guard. That way we could say, I right, 24 bootleg left, O whatever, or G this and those sort of things. Well, G3 with that extra fullback. So he comes out and he's moving along, and next thing you know, man, boom, great block right there. And now 25 gets the bounce, and now here we are again. Here we are again in that same situation where you got all of this Grange real estate. If I had my special telestrating going, I had the other one. But man, oh man, like this is the NFL. So while I'm not a guy that likes to say, hey, let's fire dudes, you got to get this fixed. You got to get it fixed in a hurry. But again, is it the coach? Is it the players? I'm not in there to know what's going on, but man, oh man. Let me see. I just saw a comment that came in real quick. Nick, let me see if I got your. I want to make sure I answer your questions or anybody's questions that are going on here. This is again why I'll have the pre-telestrating, so I'm gonna have to navigate so many dang things here. All right, let me see what we got. Let's see. Nick LeBeau had. People are also doing it for the D line. Yes, I agree. People are definitely saying the same type of stuff. I think that's what you're referring to. They say the same type of things or blame the type of stuff on certain things. Like, hey, where's this? Where's that? Well, that's not a problem. That play right there, I think that's what you were talking about, Nick. So correct me if I'm wrong. Right there, it's exactly what it is, right? It's not the defensive line's problem. Like defensive line is doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're holding their own on the players. And then you got the, same thing. So secondary, they're covering their guys, so they got to stay back. So it just makes it really, really tough to make these type of plays happen. When again, you got players that they're trying to fight against the pressure, which is what you teach defensive linemen to do. They're taught fight against pressure. So see where the step goes, beat the offensive lineman to that spot, and then you stay square to the line of scrimmage and you try to fight against the pressure. Because the old saying is, and you get a lot of the old saying. That's why I'm trying to stay the hippest grandpa in America. Even though I have the old sayings, it's because I'm very caught up with modern day football and what modern day football does. So the old sayings they're fun. You want to make sure that when you get the blocking there, the offensive lineman, you always told them, hey, you're never going to look back at the play. You take a picture of the play with your rear end, basically, because the running backs are running by him. So if the offensive lineman is doing a great job, their rear end is taking a picture of the running back. Well, so the defensive lineman, if they feel that pressure from the offensive lineman, they need to fight against it because that offensive lineman obviously is trying to push you away from where the hole is. So that's kind of the basic things. Oh, let me see, Nick LeBeau here. That was more in reference to the O-line and now D-line all being blamed as one cut. Yes, yeah. That's exactly right. The D-line is blamed as one big unit. So, yeah, I was talking about this specific play, but most people would see this play and say, oh, the defensive line, like the whole defense. Well, no, the whole defensive line didn't mess up. One guy. And, most of you guys know that the famous saying that everybody has, but Bill Belichick has it all the time, right? Do your job. Well, this is a classic case of do your job. Now, all right, two more. But this one consists of not three consecutive plays, but 3 plays on the same drive. The pigeon. Okay. I called this find the pigeon, and man, it was so evident going into the second half. Let me tell you something about adjustments. That people that freak out about teams making halftime adjustments. You know how much time an NFL coaching staff has with their guys to make adjustments? If they're lucky, they have 5 minutes, right? I mean, the second half whistle blows, they head into the locker room, coaches meet up front for a few minutes, and then when they go inside, and I actually have a charted graph of this, but also haven't seen it. I'd gone to the Tennessee Titans game, and I've done some other things over the course of the years ago with Tennessee when my mentor was coaching Eddie George there. So what happens is coaches, they meet, and then they break into individual groups. So you got individual offense, individual defense, punter and kicker doing their thing, and then they get together as a unit. So the coordinators then talk, and then the head coach talks, and it's back out on the field, right? So in that 15 minutes, by the time the coaches come down from the booth, and then they got to get back up to the booth before the start of the half, again, you maybe got 3 minutes where you're going to get on a whiteboard, talk about some stuff with your individual players, or correct a couple things, and then go to somebody else. Problem is when things are working for you, and this is what I think is happening with the Seahawks, when things work for you in the first half, you sit around as a coaching staff, and I've done it, every coach does it. You sit around as your staff, and you go, hey, keep doing what we're doing, it's working. Keep doing what we're doing, it's working. Well, what does the other team do? Well, they're counterpunch to adversity. That's what they have to do. They have to counterpunch to adversity, meaning, hey guys, what are we doing? What's messing up? We got to make a change. Not wholesale changes, but let's pick 3 things and get them fixed. 3 things on the D-line, linebackers, DB. Like, what's one thing each group needs to fix? What's one thing that offensively, 3 things, right? Running backs, wide receivers, O-line. Pick one thing and let's fix it individually. And then as coordinators, all right, what do we need to change? Like, let's stop running that set of plays and let's start running this set of plays. But when you're doing well, the tendency is to not do anything at all, to not make many changes. Well, you look at the first halves for us, they haven't been that bad, right? They've been okay. So you come out and you haven't made changes. Meanwhile, the other teams made changes. Why do you think it's so hard to beat teams twice in a season? Because the team that won goes, well, we did fine. The other team goes, hey, man, we got to make a lot of changes. So they come up with new schemes. Well, when they came out in the second half, Minnesota came out in the second half, you could tell that they had gone in and said, man, there is a pigeon out there, and we got to go after that pigeon. Well, pretty easy to see the pigeon on this. And I feel bad for him because earlier in the game, he's getting yelled at, stuff. But man, at the same time, like as fans, we got to win. We want our team to win. People are a big fan of us because he's a hometown guy, man. I loved him when he played in college. But here we go, right? So 3 plays in a row, same drive. Each play, I'm going to show the play, and then I'll talk about a little bit what happened. So here's the first play. Again, just a simple. Now, here's what's crazy about it. Okay, let's watch it just a little bit faster. Motion, kind of similar to the same play we just saw. Everybody's going to the right. The fullback jab steps, goes back to his left. Hey, guess who? Look at this. Now, again, this is why I don't talk player, specific player, anymore position. Backside guy, stay at home. If you're on the other sideline, if you're directly where this official is, you could, maybe you could see one of his numbers, but you definitely can't see both. He's doing his job on that side. His outside arm would have been free. If that guy cuts back, this play is shut down. But what do we have on this side? And I'll get to the pigeon in a second. The near side defender, his job is to squeeze, right? So we talked about if the run's away from you, you have check counterpoint. But when the running plays to you as a defensive lineman, you've got to squeeze it. You cannot be running up the field 2 or 3 yards. So while he gets a good drive and people are like, oh man, look at he's just owning his guy. Well, you own your guy so much that guess what this guy gets to do because he's got an option here. He has the counter. He can run the counter, but he ends up staying in the lane because the hole's so wide open. Well, here's what we get with a young linebacker. Hey man, let's get rid of KJ. Let's not pay $15 million to KJ. It's too much to pay money to a guy like that. Well, here's why you pay $15 million to a guy like that, and why he would have been worth it. I think if we have KJ Wright, we win the last 2 games, flat out. I think if we have KJ Wright, we win the last 2 games. It's my honest opinion. Okay, here's our linebacker. Again, this is nothing personal, but I love this kid. I think he's going to be great down the road, but now's not his time. It's just not his time. So watch what happens. Okay, first off, way too big of an overstride. Okay, yeah, look at a Hall of Famer. Okay, Hall of Famers staying lateral, and I tell you what, man, I do got to say something because I'm hearing in multiple circles as well. And again, I'm not an expert, but man, I watch a lot of film. Like I spend my days watching a lot of film of NFL dudes, and I've been watching the Seahawks since their inception, pretty much. But Bobby Wagner is definitely one of my favorites of all time. People that think Bobby Wagner has lost a step are foolish. Like you're foolish if you think Bobby Wagner has lost a step, because the guy has not lost a step. Okay, what he's having to do is he's having to compensate for the personnel around him. When the guy to your left or the guy to your right are in that CPR phase, now I'm not going to say that the guy to his left right now is disrespecting anybody, and he's a personnel, he's the personnel that we have to be there, but the comprehension is not there. So when you take away the comprehension part, well, now you need some resuscitating. So what happens to Bobby? Well, Bobby can't just do his regular job, which is cover the tackle gaps and fly around and make those plays. I mean, he used to have, Bruce on one side, Bruce Irvin, and then, he used to have KJ on the other. Well, now look what he's got. He's got at times Jamal Adams, who doesn't necessarily know exactly what he's going to do, but stud of an athlete. But then he also has, a young linebacker. So let's take it back to see what he does here. You get the long overstride to where, Bobby's doing what Bobby needs to do. He sees the guards pulling, but he's recognized that this is a play we saw and we got beat on in the first half. So notice how he settles. Bobby settles his feet. He wants to sort it out. Like he's playing it perfect. Adams is playing it perfect because he's the backside fill guy. So he's making sure it doesn't cross his face. A lot of mosh pit in here, though. I mean, there's so much real estate between these guys because we're getting caught up in the wash. But now here's the pigeon. I guarantee you, their offensive, head coach, offensive coordinator of their group said, hey, man, we just got to go at one guy and we will finish this game off. Because watch right here. He sees the fullback coming, but he's not watching the guards. And as soon as he sees the fullback go away, watch where he goes. He immediately starts chasing back to his right. So now, guess who makes a great block on Bobby? Our own dude. Our own guy blocks our Hall of Fame middle linebacker because he saw something that he wasn't supposed to be looking at. He saw the fullback go, so he went with the fullback when he shouldn't have done that. Okay? So problem is, you see it right there, he steps, he sees the fullback go, so he thinks, oh man, that was that counter play earlier. Problem is, his job is not to chase down that counter. When that counter goes away, if that running back went with him, all he has to do is work his way back here, and he has backside leverage, backside pursuit, making sure that the guy doesn't cut back across his face. He can recover to that, but he cannot give up his responsibility, which is this gap in here. It's one of these two gaps in this gap responsibility spot. So what does he do? He overplays it, comes back to the inside, and now we're getting walled off. You know, again, you can't look at the line is holding their spot. If I'm grading out the front three, man, you want the front three to be able to hold their line. If the works are getting pushed a yard down the field, look at them, man. They're doing a great job. But the linebacker should be sitting right here making this tackle. Instead, he's caught up in the wash. Our other linebacker's caught in the wash. Adams loops around the other side instead of looping back here. But again, can't blame him. That's where the play's going. And now, here's a little bit of the issue. And this is where, again, I'm not getting personal with these guys. It's just, this is what I look at. You cannot yell at dudes for not making plays if you yourself are not making plays. So if you're going to yell at a guy for not covering a guy, then my thought is you better make some open field tackles, right? And now everybody's getting frustrated. Okay, but he's the free safety, sorted out, and now you better make the play. Well, he doesn't make the play. So now, you know who does? Who gets credit? Like people were saying, gosh, Jamal Adams led us in tackles. Yeah, because the guy is unbelievable with his motor. His motor never stops. But watch Jamal Adams on this play. Okay, here he is. He gets caught up in the wash. Now he has to loop around. He takes the great angle and gets to him, get him out of bounds. Otherwise, he gets another 10 yards. So it's tough when guys are getting mad at Flowers. I get Flowers not doing well out there, but we got some other problems also when it comes to tackling. I think that again, I hope guys get fixed. And some of it, I think, is when you get frustrated in games, you end up not doing the right thing. So, pigeon play number 2. Okay, I'll just run the play. Just a little bit. Here we go. You can see where our pigeon is, and they're running right at him. Right here. Here's the pigeon. Let's go right at the pigeon and see if he makes the play. Nope. Okay, so that's two in a row. But again, you see it happening right here. They're just running basically a counter again, but this time it's a different look. Same type of play, because here's that fullback. Fullback is now slotted outside, but now you get a power look as well. Power is where you get two guys that are going to go through the hole. So you get a counter look where this guard's pulling, which here, that's why he should be quickly going. Because as soon as you see a guard pulling like that, it's going to be a run behind this guy up inside, unless the quarterback's doing a bootleg and they've tried to fake you by doing that. So, and that's the beauty of watching offensive linemen play. Okay. That guy goes out. This is your traditional counter, because instead of them pulling the guard and the tackle, this guard is kicking out. And this guy would be, traditionally, he'd have been the right tackle, but he becomes the guy who comes in through the hole to get the lead block. Doesn't do the greatest job, but he gets good enough seal because of the way we're just kind of flying around. Okay, guys are trying to find stuff, and then there's our middle linebacker missing the play, and then we're gone. There you go, 9-yard gain. So then fast forward, they complete 2 passes, and then they come back to a running play. Same drive. Okay, so they've gone a couple runs with the pigeon, couple pass plays. Now they're down here, and it's like, hey man, where's 57 lining up? I mean, they're checking to it. They're checking to it at the line of scrimmage. You can tell Cousins is getting up there, and he's getting back. He's talking. He's checking. He's not pointing. He's not doing it. So-and-so's the mic. So-and-so's. That's not what that's about. All it's about is where's the pigeon. So here we go. Let's watch at regular speed. Boom. Man, nothing better than a fullback who makes a great block. And I'm not, again, this is educational. It's not about, wow, Minnesota's fun to watch. I want our Seattle Seahawks to win. But here's a major issue, right? Everybody was excited in August. Hey, we get to see our young guy, and he's ready, and all this other stuff. No, man, we're missing a guy big time. Just watch what happens here. This is just a toss lead. Okay, so the toss pitch, but it's not the traditional where they're sweeping or they're pulling guard. It's a wide lead. It's like a 26 lead instead of a 24 lead. And by those numbers, typically teams in the West Coast style of offense. Tailback is the 2-back, fullback is the 3-back, and even holes are numbered to the right. So it's 0 is the right butt cheek, 2, 4, 6, 8. Odd numbers are to the left. Left butt cheek is 1, 3, 5, 7. So dives are usually in here, leads here, powers are out here. But a traditional lead would kind of be like a 24 lead. But when you do a toss pitch, you're just trying to widen it out. Well, why are you trying to widen it out? I'll tell you why. Right here, unfortunately. And again, love the kid, man. But I'm sure he's not looking forward to his film study. Not looking forward to it at all. So here's where you get going. Toss pitch. Okay, they're flowing, but you can notice before the play, and again, defense, we always talk, keep no secrets. Offense is all about Omaha, right? Peyton Manning. Defense is talk. The Legion of Boom. If you ever went to a game and were sitting within 20 rows, you could hear those dudes. Having the opportunity a couple times with family and friends to go down on the sidelines and listen pregame and everything else, those dudes were nonstop. A good defense is talking all the time. So he's communicating, and he's pointing, communicating to the receiver. He recognizes something from film study, like he's trying to get better. Problem is, while he's communicating, you know what a veteran quarterback does? These are the little nuances that I think you're going to get on this show as it grows that other dudes aren't going to talk about. How ironic that when the pigeon is standing straight up and pointing, that the veteran quarterback snaps the football. Think about that, right? I'm telling our quarterback all the time, hey, if one of their defensive players is standing up, or hey, why do you go in motion with the team because you're trying to get guys running sideways? We would do that as a commercial all the time. Let's send a receiver in motion and see if a linebacker ends up picking him up when he goes across the line of scrimmage and then snap the ball and that linebacker turns sideways. Or send a running back out of the backfield in motion, and if that linebacker starts to shift, boom, snap it right there. You're just running a commercial for the play that you actually want to run. Cool. Man, Cousins sees the linebacker standing up and pointing. He's not even looking. Snap the ball right there. So you get the ball snapped. And look what you get. Toss pitch. Watch this fullback block. Here it comes, and boom. Now, good job keeping your outside arm free. That's his job. Outside linebacker's job on that. Even though he is an outside linebacker, but on this play, it's come right at him. But even though he's inside, as the play develops, he basically becomes the outside linebacker to Wagner being the inside linebacker. You're hoping that Wagner gets over the top of this guy, but he does a good job. This guard gets out, he scrapes. They call that a scrape, where a lineman first double teams here to make sure you're always making sure the first guy doesn't get the first wave of guys don't get there. Then you scrape off the backers with a teach. This linebacker, he knows, hey man, I just got to keep my outside arm free. I got to take on the block. You never run around a block. So if you're coaching youth kids out there, you teach those kids, take on the lead blocker. If it's a tackle, if it's a guard, if it's a fullback, if it's anybody, you can't olay. You can't olay, boom, olay, and then hope to get the guy. You're just creating a bigger hole. So he does a good job there of taking it on. But that fullback, man, he is the low man that wins. Low man wins. Boom. Problem is, there's our Hall of Famer. He's getting pushed back. I mean, he is getting pushed back, right? Boom, boom. I mean, look at the hole there. Okay, and then here's our safety who on the same drive, who earlier in the game was yelling at him. But again, you're talking CPR, right? Comprehension's not high here. Personnel might not be right here. He might not be respecting him, not as a person, but just as a player right now in this game. It happens all the time. And you're constantly talking to players like, hey, man, you got to stop showing emotion to that player, this player, that they're you got to talk them up. But then there's times you got to be a jerk and get in their face. You just got to know when's the right time to do that. Well, okay, he's back there, man. He recognizes it. He's a good safety. He comes flying up there. But now this is the second time on this drive. And that time, man, like, seriously coming at you. boom, and boom, crushed, like getting run over. So when I talk about the pigeon, man, that is the pigeon, man. That is the pigeon. And I'm sorry, I got just saw that I still have Nick LeBeau's piece up there. So let me get it out of there. Pull it off. No offense, Nick. So let me come back just so you can see it one more time what I had, because I know I had the telestrating piece going. So here you can see the fullback block, boom, boom. So play it slow. My bad. I'll get my screens navigated tighter. But here you can see it. The fullback comes. There's our Hall of Famer getting pushed back. Fullback gets the great block inside out. Linebacker is supposed to go outside in, but the fullback definitely wins that one. Right? Boom, right there. Huge hole. And there's that guard who scraped. So you get a great scrape right here. Scrape out the backer. You're getting the perfect push. And you're hoping, yeah, the offense, we got our 5 yards. Let's hope we get maybe 7 to 10. But then the free safety gets flat out run over. Flat out run over. Second time he's missed an important block. Now, he certainly wouldn't want somebody yelling at him, right? So, again, football is a fiery sport, and if you can't handle that type of stuff, like these dudes are great. They end of the game, they're okay with each other, they're hugging other guys for the most part. But it starts happening too much. Like how much longer does some guy want to get yelled at? Like if you're at work, you want to get yelled at all the time. That's just tough. So here we go. This is going to be the last play that I'm going to cover for tonight. And I've got quite a few pulled up. I actually pulled up 20 plays to do if I have the time. Even though I'm usually doing 12, but there's just so much in this game to cover. So this one right here, let it run so you can see it. You'll remember it. Okay, just a simple, easy. Now there are some great concepts that were run by Minnesota and stuff that I hadn't seen when I watched. Typically, I'll watch the last couple games in just the speed round. You can usually watch you can find it on YouTube somewhere, but I find it on the website that I utilize. And in about 20 minutes, I can see all the plays from the previous game, and then I'll pick a few that I think are maybe they're going to run those and kind of study them a little bit more. But when you get here in this game, there were some times that even on the replay, it was pretty neat the way they filmed it this week, because a lot of times the way the end zone or kind of that sky cam was showing, you could see more of the concepts and understand that when we talk schemes and concepts, people often get that really confused. Scheme is like the folder. Like you got your book, that's your offense, right? You got your binder, that's your offense. And you open up and the dividers, those are your schemes. And then open up that divider, open up that scheme. Each page is your concept. It's kind of your play that you're running, your concept within that scheme. So here they're getting in this trips, but the concept here that they're running, again, as you see it start to develop, really, really nice the way they've got, a short out route. They've got a deep, I wouldn't quite call it a corner route, but it's a deep rounded out. And then you've got a strong hitch, as I would refer to it, because you would call it dig. Two types of ways they call digs. Some people call digs the one step back, catch the ball. Other people refer to the dig, even like as I've got it here on my dig, and a 15-yard square in what it used to be, but when you round it becomes more of a dig. And then you got a clear out. And a lot of teams are really utilizing this piece right here, which I love in trips. It's just a clear out, but sometimes it comes open. This right here, when you get the inside receiver, he's just running hard across the field. He's actually running the corner, but he's running to the far corner. He's running a clear out. But it is a fantastic concept with, basically 5-man personnel, or as they would call it, you're in zero because you don't have any running backs back there. So you got 5 receivers set, you got the slot. And for my explanation of things, just know that I usually will talk numbers for wide receivers. So this is the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5. If there was a running back in there, he counts as well. So there'd be one of these guys out of there. So if you hear me say the number 1 receiver, the number 2, the 4, the 3, whatever, I'm talking from left to right as we go. So again, as you see this happening, look at the left side first of all. Okay, left side, this is the guy that gets juked big time right here. Okay, he's jumping back on this. He's got to make the play. It's Brooks. Okay, he's just playing the letter U position. If he was a tight end, he'd be the letter Y. I'm calling him the number 2. So he's got the number 2 out, which is typical. Linebackers usually have the number 2 out. DBs usually have the number 1 out. And man, oh man, let's just give him a lot of space, right? Let's give him 10 yards cushion. So anyway, it doesn't matter whether he's zone or not. He gets juked out of his pants, so that's wide open. This is wide open. This, I would argue, is wide open for NFL standards. The guy's going full speed and just ran by a guy who was flat-footed literally just a couple strides ago. I mean, you tell me who's picking him up, right? Adams sees him, runs with him. Okay, free safety does what he's supposed to do. He's got to drop. He's still supposed to stay with the deepest man. So great job there. Again, very, very hard. But the problem is, we did this 3 times in the game in crucial situations. Before the pass was thrown, one player, not this specific player, but one player on the field started breaking on the ball before Cousins had even committed. So here what you see here is as Cousins starts to commit to his pass, okay, he's taking his drop, sitting there reading, looking left. He knows he's coming back to the right. So he's looking off. He wants to pull the safety, make sure the safety gets out of there. We've got this rolled cover 3, but man, it is just loosey-goosey. We're only rushing the 4 right there. So here we got all these guys back there, but there's just so much space. And understand that zone coverage doesn't mean you just sit in a zone. Zone coverage means jump on a man when they enter your zone. And I swear, I feel like this is the one thing that we talked about a ton last year with this defense. Like, man, it's not that you're bad players, but when a guy comes into your zone, jump on him. He's your man. You play man-to-man in a zone defense, right? You got cover 2, cover 3, cover 2 man, which is man-to-man up front with the linebackers and 2 safeties behind. But essentially, zone defense is still man-to-man when the guy enters your zone. Well, man, you tell me, who's covering man-to-man on these guys? Who's got these zones? Okay, when you get into your spots, but here's the problem that I was just talking about. Right here is, then again, is there overcompensation, right? He has not even committed to his throw yet. He's still level. No commitment to the throw. And right here, you see, pretty sure it's Wagner. As the throw starts to come out, like, look where his body, his line, his feet, the way you would teach a quarterback is basically the line of your feet. If you were to lay a golf club down, which a lot of coaches will set strings down, or you do it on the line when you're having quarterback do drills on the white lines going side to side. You set something down or use the line. You say, hey, your feet should line up so that basically that's the laser beam where you're throwing. Well, guess what? And I'm sure if I made this perfect, this line would go all the way out to where this receiver's coming across. So why is it that our middle linebacker is jumping on that? And again, I'm not blaming him for it, but there's obviously some sort of compensation that's taking place there because he doesn't trust or respect the other part that's happening. So here, look, he's jumping this on a ball that's coming over here. Okay, and again, look at the real estate. This is not the same play. This is not the same play I showed you earlier. Remember the play I showed you earlier with all of that range was the play that Cousins threw the deep in route to the left. This is the play going to the right, man. Like look at this space, and this the way they're playing this trips is, again, the offensive coordinator all my career, but for a couple years as defensive coordinator, but obviously as a head coach, man, I'm in all those defensive meetings too. I had some of the best defensive coordinators around. Loved hanging out with loved attending, clinics with NFL coordinators and college coordinators and learning, picking up all this stuff. Man, I don't know that I have seen a cover 3 quite like this. It's as loose as this one is. Usually, if you're going to play something that's even close to this loose, you're running a fire drill up front. And that's how I loved our defenses. When I hired coordinators, I was always telling them, man, if you want to be the coordinator for me, you got to be blitzing 99% of the time, man. Because as an offensive guy, I hated it. I hated defending against blitzing teams. Quarterbacks hated going against blitzing teams. Well, if you're going to give a veteran quarterback all the time in the world, and you're going to play this type of deep blanket outside coverage where you're 5 yards wider than the widest guy, 7. I mean, I'm telling you, man, I see youth defenses that are like this. Again, I'm not an NFL coach. I get that. But it doesn't take an NFL guy to go, what are we doing here? Right? He could have chosen to throw to anybody he wanted to, and that's the one he got. Now, I've got a lot of offensive stuff that I'll be covering tomorrow. And actually, I want to cover one more. Just a second here. Let me just make sure that I'm 10 yards off a bunch. Yep, see that one there. Cameron Hughes, appreciate you joining us, man. I haven't talked to Cameron Hughes. Cameron Hughes is one of the best around when it comes to football breakdown stuff, NFL draft stuff, fantasy football stuff, all those things. I mean, the dude knows all those types of things. So he does some great things. And he got, was it like 1 million? Did you get 1 million views from, he put some on YouTube last year when they got or 2 years ago when we did the pitch for the extra $100,000 for our wide receiver. So Cameron Hughes knows his stuff. So glad to see him here. Let me see what your other one was. Is the weak side two gapping and Bobby filling, and Barton has B gap responsibility, or does Bobby recognize toss that quickly? Yeah, man, that's great question, man. Like that's a great hardcore football question. So what he's talking about there is you got the weak side and the strong side. Strong side is going to be, I can actually take it back to, I know which play you're talking about. That this is when it'll be fun when we start interacting. So this is what we'll end on this one. Let me just find the play real quick on I have it titled Find the Pigeon. Find the Pigeon play 3. Okay, pretty sure you're talking about this one. Okay, so as they're coming here, and whether you're talking, weak side, strong side, and Cameron, if you're not talking about this play, maybe another play you're talking about, but I know we're talking about pigeon here. So strong side, you got to the tight end, weak side, but regardless, a guy can see a toss pitch really quickly. So Bobby's recognizing that he's recognizing that the flow of the guards are going. Like as soon as he sees the step, his first step is incredibly quick. Like when I've played other films, usually when it goes, he's sorted out. When people think he's getting a slow step right now, though, it's because he's sorting it out. Not taking longer to recognize. His recognition is still quick. His body is still quick, but he has to make sure that he's not doing the right thing and having other guys mess up, and now he's going to get in trouble. So he's trying to compensate, and it's just a natural human tendency. So what happens, and when we go back to Cameron Hughes' question here, right? So Barton has B gap responsibility. Yeah, basically what you have here, when you have this type of a defense, when you have a gap control defense, you're telling your offensive line, depending on which way they're slanting. Usually if you're telling your offensive line to slant, and we're playing an odd defense here, reminder that odd defense means that you have a guy covering the center. So he's got kind of both A gaps, which is why your linebacker typically in an odd defense will play the Mike, will play the middle, like right behind, because essentially whichever A gap he doesn't cover is the A gap that he has. And then this guy's responsible most likely for B gap. Then you got kind of D gap, and he's scraping. So C gap's potentially open here. And then here again, if he goes A gap, Bobby would be filling over towards, he's got A gap responsibility until the flow comes this way. So on the toss pitch, Bobby's filling B gap inside out. He would have C gap, you have D gap unless it flips, right? If this defensive end has some sort of a call where he's going inside to the C gap, if he's going C gap, then he would have D gap out here. So he's got C gap, B gap, A gap, A gap. So it's a refresh, and it'll be easier actually if I put, let me put a couple things here. Right, so if he's going to A gap, let me get that arrow, make it easier. Let's say he's going here. Would mean he's going to this A, and let's say he's shooting. Let's say he's shooting this hypothetically, but we'll put him here in this C gap. That means he has a B gap, which is what Cameron's asking. He's asking, does he have a B gap responsibility? Well, you've got A gap covered there, A gap covered there, B gap covered here, C gap covered here. D gap will be covered there. If the play went all the way over here, this guy right now would have a D gap, and Bobby would see it flowing over this direction if it didn't go inside, and now he has that gap covered. That's how you get all those gaps covered there. But as the play develops, what you see happening is guys get out of spot, right? So BJ, thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate you coming to the show. I know it's like really late on the East Coast. So what you see there is there's that guard that gets pushed through, and the problem is he's having to go lateral. Like Bobby uses hard charges, so Bobby sees it, recognizes it's toss pitch, he's getting there, but when he recognizes that this guy is so far outside, what he can't do is he can't go as hard inside because this guy will just get leverage on him, and that guy would bust through anyway. So he's doing the best job he can of taking on a 300-pound dude. He's taking on a 300-pound dude, and that's just tough. I mean, look at this guy's full charge. Helmet to helmet level. He's just trying to buy time, and he's hoping that if he'd have done his job, really what you should have had was right here. If he was down and in his stance, this would have happened so quick. But instead, what you got was you kind of got this step out, step here. Then he saw it and took the lead, and then he ended up getting right there. So instead of being at 3 yards earlier, he was late because he was, in a bad stance. Lots of different things. We talk Casford, not Casper, like Casper the Friendly Ghost, but Casford, CASSFERT. Call, alignment, stance, situation, formation, execute, run, tackle. Casford. Call, alignment, stance, situation, formation, execute, run, and tackle. What's the call? What's your alignment? What's the situation? Then what's your stance? What formation is the other team in? Execute the play. You do it by running and tackling. Okay, that's the easiest way to remember it. And you have those 2 responsibilities. Well, he doesn't do it. He gets the call. He knows what his alignment is, probably knows what the situation is, and then he starts blowing it. His stance isn't good, which means he's trying to recognize the formation, but he's not quite sure, so he's pointing guys out, which means he doesn't execute because he can't run it and he can't tackle. Right? So there you go, right there. Boom. And that's what you get. So I'm going to end it on that one right there, but I'm going to come right back tomorrow night, aiming to start at 7 o'clock. Because it's just so much. I mean, this is like, A, it's fun. B, I'll have these plays telestrated. I will at the end of tomorrow. I'll probably play some of these plays I showed, but I'll have them even more telestrated for anybody that comes and show them. But I just want to say, thanks for the guys that showed up today. Man, I apologize for being late. The time goes by so fast. Tomorrow we'll have more news, and I'll also probably have some stuff on San Francisco. I'm just really, really looking forward to doing these things. So just appreciate you guys coming in. Let me make sure there wasn't anything else that I missed. Let's see, Cameron. It seems as if he's completely ignoring gap play and falling the ball. Yeah, there's no doubt about it, man. And I know you play football where you are. You can tell with young guys, inexperienced guys, it's like there's this kind of retread start over that takes place where guys go through high school and then they get to college, and it just baffles me. Like as soon as you get there, it's like you start back again. You hear announcers say, "Well, they got to do this. It's going to take a couple of years to learn that." And I'm like, it shouldn't. I mean, most high school coaches are teaching a lot of those things, and then you get a lot of the good, really good programs that are teaching higher level stuff. So I always felt like with our players that went off to college and other players, like, man, they should know that, but then they just kind of lose sight of it. And then you get drafted in the NFL. Like my mentor used to say all the time, it's still the same stuff. Like, yeah, the playbook's really thick. I get it. But you still execute and you still read the guards. You still fill. You still backside leverage. You still have all those basic instinct things. But you start thinking so much that you ignore. Like when you're not a blitzing team and you're a gap responsibility team, which is kind of what we're becoming. That changed last year when we became more blitz heavy. And for some reason, we're just not doing that. We're trying to be this bend but don't break. Problem is, which I'll talk more about tomorrow, is offense isn't helping us, right? They're doing a great job in the first half. But then we go start off the second half, we get a great 5-yard run, and then we just can't handle it. But now what does everybody want? They go, well, run the ball more. Well, do you want Russ to cook? You want to run the ball? So we'll talk about all that stuff. So appreciate it, man. All the good stuff that's out there. A lot of good things going on. So I really look forward to tomorrow with you, where the breakdowns will be heavy. In fact, I'll tell you real quick, I've got a great special teams play by us. I'll be talking about a couple of the touchdowns. I got a couple more Bobby Wagner things. I'll be talking about there's some jet sweep. There's a great overload that we did, an overload formation that I love, that I hope we see us doing more. But then I have a couple that I've titled, what in the no boarding pass is going on here? Like, you're not getting a boarding pass on an airplane. I got the what in the no circle up is this? A couple of those things. So you will see some really fun stuff as we go. So for everybody out there, for my producer, for my writer, for all those people that work on this show, which is basically this guy right here, appreciate you guys, and just know that, like I always say, live life one play at a time. This is your coach of the 12s coming at you, and I'll see you tomorrow on 12 for 12s.